Hi guys, Mr. Teo here. We are here in Hiroshima today and I am right in front of the old World Trade Center, which is the hypocenter of the atomic bomb dropping back in August 6, 1945. Some distance above, the atomic bomb was dropped and the Japanese authorities have decided to preserve this building as it is, as a grim reminder of the horrors of atomic weaponry. The atomic bomb had a payload equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. When it exploded, three things were released. The first was the blinding heat in the form of electromagnetic waves. At the very center of the blast, temperatures reached an estimated 100 million degrees Celsius, released mainly in the form of gamma and X-rays. This flash was incredibly intense, engulfing an area up to 1 kilometer away. Exposed skin would have immediately suffered radiation burns, whilst dark clothing, absorbing more heat, probably ignited the clothing instantaneously. Statues and buildings were not spared either, as the gamma rays chemically reversed the oxidation in stone and concrete, bleaching any area the flash could reach and leaving shadows in the areas it could not. The eeriest effects of these can be seen in the atomic bomb shadows left behind by those in the path of the incident waves. The second thing released from the explosion was the force of the blast itself. The intense pressure pushed air rapidly towards the ground. Wooden buildings were flattened, and as a cruel extension of this disastrous scenario, the force reflected off the ground, pushing air upwards and causing a second round of destruction. For the grim finale, the upward blast coupled with hot air being less dense caused a partial vacuum. Cooler air from the surroundings rushed in and was pulled upwards, creating the distinctive mushroom shape we are familiar with. This leads us to the third and final product of the blast. Radioactive particles from the nuclear fission reaction, releasing deadly alpha and beta radiation, were also drawn up into the stem of the mushroom into the head, high up into the sky. Carried by the wind, these particles were scattered over an area much larger than the blast impact zone and finally fell to the ground as an ash-like dust known as radioactive fallout. Perhaps I'll leave the explanation of the effects of nuclear radiation on living things to Mr. Yu.
Hi everyone, Mr. Nicholas Yu from TSA The Science Academy here. I'm filming this together with Mr. Teo. We are at the bomb site of the first A-bomb in Hiroshima, and he still did mention with regards to the radioactive fallout. Now, something you all want to take note of is that in the radioactive fallout, radiation causes tiny kinks in the DNA. So when the DNA would break, alright, in some cases this will cause the cell to give up on its survivability and cause it to go through what we call as a programmed cell death of apoptosis. But in cases where the cells decide to repair itself, usually this form of repairs is not very accurate, and over a long period of time, all these little kinks will lead to the development of cancer, otherwise known as oncogenesis. So in either way, alright, if one would survive the initial blast from the atomic bomb, there is a very high tendency that they will actually suffer the effect of radiation through causation like cancer.
Scientific progress is a powerful double-edged sword. While it has given birth to much of our modern conveniences, it has also brought forth devastating weaponry. As students and practitioners of science, we cannot neglect intention and consequence in our discoveries and inventions. Curious minds, everyday discoveries.